Hey everybody, it's Yokenhide, and I'm back with another War in the Pacific tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about Japanese Turn 1 air orders. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is that on my Discord lately I feel like there's been a glut of new campaigns starting and there's a lot of new-ish Japanese players. And I've seen some pretty bad air orders for Turn 1. It seems that there's some confusion about how things work as far as how the aircraft fly and how the stacking works and all that stuff. So today I'm going to talk about some techniques and tricks and things you need to know about Japanese air orders in turn one. And there's one big thing you have to know that will save you hours of heartache and sadness during your testing. And that's this: you don't move any strike aircraft that you want to fly on turn one. And here's what I mean. For example, one of the biggest places they get screwed up is here on Formosa, right? We have a substantial amount of Japanese land-based aircraft, and typically you would use those on Manila, Clark Field, something like that. But I've seen more than one campaign start off where half the aircraft didn't fly, or they don't. I don't know what happens, but they don't fly correctly. And I think one of the reasons that's happening is people are getting a little over concerned with the stacking level, and they start moving aircraft around. And when you do that, things don't work right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through a typical setup that I would use on turn one for the Japanese, and we're going to play the turn and watch what happens. Then we're going to start messing stuff up, and I'm going to show you what happens when you move your aircraft around and how they stop flying. So I think we're going to go ahead and start with setting up some aircraft. Okay, so let's start with this. Don't be concerned with stacking levels and group administration on turn one. It does not matter. Yes, Takao is a size 8 airfield, right? So the stacking level should be 400. On turn one, it does not matter. So anything that's on this island will fly on turn one. It doesn't matter how many you got. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you what I do for my first turn setup. Let's take all these Nels and Bettys and recombine them all. Make sure I get that done. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all my Bettys, set them to a port strike uh, at 2,000 feet. And I'm going to set the target as Manila because I want to hit those subs, right? And we'll repeat that for all the Bettys. Then we're going to take a look at our Nels, right? And we're going to have them do the exact same thing. Port strike at Manila. And then I'm also going to take the Sallies here, and I'm going to set them to a port strike as well. 2,000 feet. Why not 1,000 feet? Well, 1,000 feet would trigger the pilot's low ground, right? We're not using low ground, so we want to use the regular ground bombing skill, which uses 2,000 feet and up. So we're going to go 2,000 feet, port strike on Manila. Okay. Then we're going to take a look at a Lily unit, and I like to use these guys to hit Iba because there's some P40s that start there on turn one that don't have rail connection. So if you damage some, they may be stuck there. So we're going to do airfield attack there. Next, what you can do here is you can take some of these Zero squadrons and you can either reattach them or leave them as fragments, and you can have them escort if you want, so or sweep. So in this case, we're going to escort at 2,000 feet because we want to coordinate with our bombers going into Manila, right? So we'll set these guys to go in at Manila 2,000 feet. We'll set these guys to go in as well. And the rest of the stuff, it doesn't matter. That's all I want to show you right now. Escort 2,000 feet, Clark Field. Okay? I'm trying to show you a great setup for turn one. The recon planes I don't really care about. You can assign those however you want. The Idas, the Ans, the Sonias, I don't care what you do with them as well. You can have them not fly. You can have them fly. It doesn't matter because there's no real targets that they're going to hit on turn one anyway. Okay, so we got Takao set up, and now we're going to go over here to Taichu, where there's a Betty unit here, and we're going to have them do the exact same thing as the guys coming out of Manila, and let's hope that they coordinate and go in together. If they don't, it's not the end of the world, but you have a better strike package if they do. Alright, Manila port strike using bombs 2,000 feet. So that should do it. So all we're going to do now is execute this turn, and we're going to see if all these aircraft that I've assigned fly and hit here. Notice I did not move anything. Notice I did not try to fly any additional aircraft in here. I'm only working with what I got. And I'll show you why that's so important when we come up to this. I'll come up to this turn. So I'm going to run this now. We're going to see if all these strike aircraft hit these targets on turn 1. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Got the air operations phase here. We'll take a look and see what happens here with their airstrikes. Don't mind that one. Not worried about that. Okay, this is what I'm looking at. All right, let's pause this real quick. I'm going to pause this real quick. Look at this. 81 Bettys, 36 Nels, all going in at the same time with escort into Manila. Doesn't get any better than that, guys. So this is every Betty and every Nell from Takao and from Taichu. You see the red lines? They've all coordinated and gone in as one continuous package. This is 117 medium bombers hitting Manila at the same time. That's perfect. Now let's see what happens here. A lot of damage. Look at that. Look at all that. Look what we did on turn 1. That is a slam dunk of the Manila port. Let's see if the rest of our bombers fly here. Okay, don't worry about that. Let's fast forward to that. Okay. 27 Lilies linked up with some escort going in to hit Iba at 2,000 feet. It's exactly what we asked for, right? Awesome. Look at that. Great hits on Iba. Let's see what else we get. Don't care about that. I want to see the rest of the Manila raid, because we're still waiting on some Sallies to fly. There they are. Look at that. There's our 18 Sallies that we asked to fly too. Now going into Manila, 2,000 feet with escort. Let's see how they do. Dang. Excellent. So there you go, guys. I think that's everything we asked for turn 1, right? These are all of the bombers that we asked to fly out of Formosa. Every single one of them lifted up, despite the stacking, despite the administration, despite all that. Everything flew. Nothing was given orders to rest that wasn't already set like that is default on turn 1. So that's what I'm trying to show you. Everything on the island will fly on turn 1, no problem. But the key is you cannot move it around. If you start moving it around, things stop working. And I'm going to show you what that looks like next. Okay? Overall, I would say we did excellent damage to the Philippines on turn 1. I would be very happy with rolls like this on any day. Alright. Now we're going to go play around with this some more. I'm going to show you what happens when you mess it up. Okay. We're back. This is back to turn 1 setup. So I had already given all these orders to all of these aircraft, right? So now I'm going to show you what happens when you start moving stuff around on turn 1 and what it will do to you. So first of all, we'll take this Betty unit, right? We're going to transfer this over to Cow. Let's just say we want everything to try to fly out of the same base. I don't know why you would do that. We're going to do it anyway. So we just move these guys to Cal, right? So that's 27 bombers there right off the bat. Then we're going to take another unit. Let's say these, where are they at? Let's take these Nels, and now we're going to transfer these guys to Taichu, right? If the Bettys flew out of there on our last run through, they should fly out of here again. So we'll see what happens, right? We did lose one to ops, so no big deal. The reserve aircraft will take that up. But same orders, okay? So there, now you know there's 27 Bettys and 36 Nels that were moved to different bases, right? And then we're going to do this. Now, I forgot to mention, this is scenario 2, not scenario 1. On scenario 1, you're not going to have the aircraft to be doing this crazy stuff anyway. You just don't have them. A lot of people are playing scenario 2 right now because it's better for novice Japanese players. And one of the units that you get extra that's very helpful for this campaign is this additional Betty unit that is ready to fly on turn 1 because it's got a unrestricted air headquarters. So we're going to take these guys, these 36 Bettys, and we're going to transfer them over to Takao. And I'm just going to show you what a waste of time that is. Because I did this on my first setup, and I just completely did myself dirty. So now we've added an additional 36 Bettys to Takao. And in theory, they should fly just like the rest, right? Or in theory, they shouldn't. I'm going to prove to you that they don't. So I'm going to sit here and give these guys all these G4Ms the same orders, to include the ones we just brought in from Japan. And that should be... where are they at? Right here. Now they have the same orders, okay? So what do we got here? We should have on this turn 1 now a substantial amount of bombers hitting Manila and Iba. But you notice that I moved 3 different squadrons around. So let's see what that does when we run this turn again. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. We run the turn, and we're going to take a look at the air orders that we get here and see if it helped us or hurt us. Okay? Be back in a second. Okay, here we go. Airstrikes. All right. Let's pause. What in the world is this mess? Look at this. Right off the bat, remember our first turn, how we had a substantial amount of Nels and Bettys going at the same time? Well, look at now. We have way less. We have 18 Sallys and 54 Bettys. The Nels did not fly so far. We'll check. Maybe they'll fly later, but I doubt it. They're not part of this package. And those additional 36 Bettys that we flew in from Home Islands are also not present here. So we'll run this and see what happens, but if my theory is correct, this is all we're going to get that hits Manila on this turn. And that's about half as many bombers as I would like. So let's see how these guys do. Pretty anemic. A lot less hits than we had on the first time through, right? Alright, don't worry about that. Okay, there's our lilies from Takao hitting Iba. But we knew that those would go in because we didn't move them around, right? Okay, so they go in. They have a pretty good showing at Iba. Let's see what else we get. Oh, bunch of Chinese strikes. Not worried about that. It ain't looking too good, though. Where are the rest of the strikes from Formosa? Yeah, that's just more China strikes. That's the default stuff. I didn't turn all that off. I'm waiting to see if we get anything else out of Formosa, right? We're missing some bombers. Okay, so AM phase is done. You notice that we're missing a lot of bombers, right? Maybe it's a fluke, right? Maybe they're going to fly on the PM phase. I'll run it. We'll find out. Where are my bombers at? Okay, that's just some scenario 2 stuff. You don't get these bombers on scenario 1 out of Tinian at all. I wish. I'm still waiting for my bombers. Aha! There it is, guys. Did you notice that? We did not get our strikes from Formosa, and that is because we moved the strike aircraft around on turn 1, and they did not fly. Okay. We'll go back and talk about it again. Okay, we're back. So, this is our setup before we moved anything around, right? So if we were to execute this turn again, we would have identical results as our very first run through where we hit Manila hard. So here's the takeaway, the summary of this whole thing for your turn 1 Japanese air orders. If you want a bomber to fly and strike something on turn 1, it has to fly from where it starts on turn 1. If you move it, it will not fly. It'll relocate to the base and you can use it on turn 2 and beyond, but you will not be able to use it on turn 1. And I think that's something that a lot of new Japanese players don't understand. They'll start trying to get this number down, or they want to bring extra bombers in from different locations, right? Or like they see all these Bettys over here and Nels at Saigon, and they want to move them over to Takao so they can just slam dunk Manila even harder. Well, once you do that, you basically guarantee that those bombers won't fly. The same goes true for anywhere else on the map. Again, scenario 2, so you have a lot extra strike aircraft that's like Bangkok that you don't get on scenario 1, but you can pull off some crazy stuff out of Bangkok on turn 1, right? You have all these strike aircraft, but don't get greedy and start trying to take more aircraft from Saigon and bring them into Bangkok and vice versa. If they have to be moved on turn 1, they will not fly. So as a new Japanese player, when you're setting up these aircraft, leave them where they're at. I haven't really experimented with recon planes and fighters and all that other stuff, but my initial reaction to that is that those will still fly. It's the strike aircraft that won't. But to be on a safe side, I don't move any aircraft that I want to fly on turn 1, whether it's a fighter, a recon plane, a transport plane. I don't move anything on turn 1 just to be safe. And if you do, test it. Save it and test it. Because you're going to waste a lot of time if you don't, like I did. I lost about 3 days of setup on my first Japanese playthrough against Telson, because I moved a bunch of stuff into here and I didn't test it, and then I continued setting up ground units and stuff, and then I was shocked that I couldn't get these aircraft to fly out of Formosa on turn 1. I was like, what happened? And I found out after the fact that you can't move them. So I hope you guys found this useful. Let me know what else your questions are. If you'd like to see a little more in-depth on how I set up other stuff, if you have specific questions about what aircraft are best used here or there or what have you, please ask me on Discord or leave a video comment and I'll be happy to address it. But the bottom line here, guys, for you Japanese players, don't move your strike aircraft from their starting locations on turn 1, or they're not going to fly and you're going to waste a lot of time. Catch you guys on the next one.